So today we're going to figure out how to divide proper fractions. And the good thing about this is there's actually really no long division involved whatsoever. It's actually very similar to multiplying fractions. So make sure you have your notes out. Make sure you're following along with me. So the first one says, a blank is when you take a fraction or whole number and flip it over. This is probably a brand new word for you, and that word is reciprocal. R-E-C-I-P-R-O-C-A-L. So a reciprocal is when you take a fraction or whole number and flip it over. A number times its reciprocal always gives 1 for an answer. So for example, the reciprocal of 3/7 is 7/3. You just flip over the fraction. That's it. For a whole number, you write it as a fraction. So if you remember this from the other day, to make any whole number a fraction, you write it over 1, and then you flip it over. So 12 as a fraction is 12 over 1. The reciprocal is 1 over 12. So let's try some of these. We're going to find the reciprocals of these fractions, which means you're literally just going to flip them over. So 8/9 is 9/8. 2/3 is 3/2. 1/2, 2 over 1. 4/5, 5 over 4. 10 originally is 10 over 1, so flip it over and you get 1/10. 13 is originally 13 over 1. Flip it over, you get 1/13. Okay, so reciprocal just means flip over the fraction. To see if two numbers are reciprocals of each other, multiply them together, and you must get 1 for an answer in order for them to be reciprocals. So let's see if these are reciprocals of each other. If I multiply them together, let's see if I get 1 for an answer. Everything's going to cross cancel. So we're going to get 1. That happens every time. If you multiply a fraction by the same fraction flipped over, everything will cross cancel and you'll always get 1. Let's try this one. 1/2 times 6/3. If I cross cancel these, I'm going to still get 3 over 3, which is also 1 whole. So it is possible for two fractions that don't look like they're the same ones flipped over to also be reciprocals of each other. Okay, the reason I spent so much time on reciprocals is because you need to know that in order to divide fractions. So to divide fractions, you multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So that means you keep the first fraction the same and you flip over the second fraction. And then it's the same thing as multiplying fractions. You just cross cancel if you can and you multiply across. The most popular way to remember this is keep, change, flip. Okay? Keep, change, flip means you keep the first fraction the same, you change your division symbol to a multiplication sign, you flip over the second fraction. So let's try some examples. You guys can flip over your notes. Let's do some practice with reciprocals again. You do not have to do this. I just want you to watch. So 3/5 as a fraction is still 3/5. The reciprocal, flip it over, 5/3. 9/5 as a fraction is 9/5. The reciprocal, 5/9. I flipped it over. 2 as a fraction is 2 over 1. Flip it over, 1/2. So these are reciprocals of the originals. Okay? Now this, I do want you to pause and try. Do the same thing I just did. So all you're doing is flipping over the fraction. If it's a whole number, write it over 1 first and then flip it over. So try this one on the back of your notes. Okay, 4 more for you to try. Same thing, write the reciprocal. Do these on the back of your notes. So just flip them right over, and that's it. Okay, now we're going to try finding the quotient of 1/6 divided by 2/3. I want you to just watch this first example. So we're going to do keep, change, flip, and I'll show you what that means. Keep means keep the first fraction exactly how it looks. Change means change your division symbol to a multiplication sign. Flip means flip over the second fraction. So instead of 2/3, 3/2. Now we have the same work that we've been doing earlier in the week. We want to see if we can cross cancel. I could divide these both by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. I can't do anything with 2 and 1. I multiply right across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. That's my final answer. So you don't actually do any division besides your cross canceling. Okay, let's try another one. You guys can just watch. Keep the first fraction the same. Change the division to a times. Flip over the second fraction. It has to be keep, change, flip. If you flip the first one and keep the second one, it doesn't work because that's like dividing backwards. And with division, order matters. I could divide these both by 2, sorry. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I could divide these both by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. multiply across, I get 5 over 6. So keep, change, flip, cross cancel if you can, multiply across. Okay, this one, I'm going to try this one. I'm going to have you guys try this one. This is a word problem, but it's still just dividing fractions, but you have to figure out which number goes first because with division, order matters. It says a piece of wood is 3 feet long. How many 3/4 foot pieces can you cut from the piece of wood? You have to determine which number represents the entire amount of wood, and that would be the 3. Because the piece of wood is 3 feet long. So that is the first number, whichever number represents the entire piece of whatever they're talking about. Now I'm going to write divided by 3/4. Now I want to set up my problem. So I'm going to do keep, change, flip. Okay, keep, change, flip. These can cross cancel. Divide them both by 3. And I get 4 over 1, which is 4. So you can cut the wood into 4 3/4 foot pieces. I want you to pause and try this one. Figure out which number represents the entire length of the rope, and that's the number that's going to go first. Then you're going to do keep, change, flip, cross cancel, multiply across. So you pause and try this one. Okay, I want you to pause also and try these 4. So you're going to do keep, change, flip, cross cancel if you can, multiply across. So you pause and do all 4 of these on the back. All right, now we're going to try a fraction divided by a whole number. So I'm going to do keep, change to a times. 2 would originally be 2 over 1. Now I'm going to flip it to 1 over 2. I can cross cancel, divide these both by 2. And then I can't do anything with the 1 and the 5, multiply right across. So if there's a whole number, don't forget to write it over 1 first, and then keep, change, flip. So then you flip it over. Then you cross cancel, then you multiply. Okay, so you try these 2. So keep, change, flip, but don't forget to write it as 3 over 1 first. Cross cancel if you can, multiply across. Pause and try both of these ones. Now this is going to be the last one. We're doing order of operations. So with fractions now, so out of these we have adding and dividing. You're going to divide first. So I'm going to do keep, change. This would be 4 over 1, so I'm going to flip it to 1 over 4. I can cross cancel by 2. Multiply across, I get 1/10. Now I want to add 4/5. So this is actually a good review of last year. When you were adding fractions, we have not done this yet this year, but hopefully you remember, you do need a common denominator. So they can both go into 10. So I'm going to leave this the same. And for this one, I had to multiply 5 times 2 to get 10. So I'm going to multiply the top by 2. Now that I have my common denominators, I'm just going to add the numerators. 8 plus 1 is 9, so I get 9/10. So see if you could try this one. We have division and subtraction. You would do division first. So do keep, change, flip. Okay, then cross cancel if you can, then multiply across. If you're subtracting 1/6, if you're subtracting fractions, you need a common denominator. So see if you could figure out that last one, and then come show me when you're done with all of them.